The space jobs of tomorrow are here, today. More than millions of them, waiting to be filled. But you have to have the skills to master those fields.
This week in gaming, GOG Galaxy has left beta, with its latest update making the DRM-free game client more CPU-friendly and introducing cloud saves. White Paper Games has announced The Occupation, their first adventure since Epher 1. A leak of unverifiable veracity places Destiny 2 as having a September release date with no word on what really matters, a PC release. .emu's online store is shutting down, Star Citizen is dropping DirectX 11 support, the game client formerly known as Battle.net is now Blizzard, and it seems that GameStop is dying. This is 1RBC Gaming Weekly.
Download and print the materials available at bluecollarastronaut.com. That's blue-collarastronaut.com, enter button. Don't play games with your future. The sky is no longer the limit. Claims of earning potential may be patently false, and any promise of future employability implied is based on pseudoscience and things we felt like saying. Disclaimer not valid in every multiverse or Alaska.
First off, video game retailer GameStop is not doing well. At all. GameStop Corp plans to close about 150 stores this year. According to a report from the Wall Street Journal, sales and earnings have fallen by double digits in the last period. GameStop has been struggling lately due to the rise of digitally distributed video games and online retailers. Personally, I am not surprised that their brick-and-mortar business has been in decline. It's been getting cheaper to buy games online. While the last few Steam sales haven't exactly been groundbreaking, it's still way more affordable to get my games that way than to walk down the street to GameStop and purchase a disc. It seems that the paranoia that used to exist around digital games has largely dissolved. Gamers aren't quite so worried anymore about losing stuff that they've purchased on digital storefronts. I still have mixed feelings on buying digital, because on the one hand, most of the games that I own on Steam are really just being leased to me, and that lease can be revoked at any time. On the other hand, it seems highly unlikely that the various digital distribution platforms I own games across, Valve, Xbox Live, itch.io, would all arbitrarily revoke my licenses. That would be a PR disaster. Then too, there's a lot about GameStop that consumers don't like. The way that employees are pushed to tell people to sign up for rewards programs, for instance, or the small amount of store credit you get for trading in games. These things haven't really been good for GameStop's reputation, or for their bottom line. Interestingly, GameStop's been seeing a surge of sales in collectible items. Funko Pops and figurines and other junk are expected to become a billion-dollar business for GameStop in 2019, assuming they last that long. Speaking as somebody who remembers the Beanie Baby bubble, I have to say to GameStop Corp, don't put all your Funkos in one basket. What do you think? Is GameStop's shutdown imminent? Could they save themselves by selling video game-related merchandise instead of focusing on games and hardware? Share your thoughts with @OneRuleBeCool on Twitter. We'd love to hear what you have to say, and we're happy to share your thoughts on next week's episode. While we're talking about dying stores, regarding the shutdown of .emu, the French publisher of retro games, they've announced that they are closing their online store after 6 years of operation. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with them, .emu is responsible for bringing quite a number of older games to today's platforms. I purchased a copy of Jordan Mechner's Blast Express from them. I have yet to play it. According to .emu, the reason for the store shutdown is due to fierce competition. That said, their publishing and developmental branches will remain open, so you can buy retro games via Steam and GOG that they've worked on. That said, if you have purchased games directly through .emu, you have until June 1st, 2017 to download them, DRM-free, to your devices. In Nintendo Switch news, Nintendo says that the issue with some Joy-Con controllers occasionally disconnecting during play is due to what they're referring to as a manufacturing variation. That is to say, a defect. A word that Nintendo has done their very best to steer clear of. One that they claim to have corrected. That said, if your Joy-Cons are disconnecting during play, Nintendo will replace them free of charge. Thus far, the Switch has been selling like hotcakes. The potential PR disaster that could arise over defective hardware could seriously shake faith in Nintendo, hence their avoidance of the word defects. Have you purchased a Switch, and has it been working out for you? You can hit us up on Twitter at OneRuleBeCool, and let us know what you think of the console thus far. In game releases this week, Go Go Electric Samurai hit early access on Steam, and thus far it's not quite lighting the charts ablaze, even though it looks really promising. It's a multiplayer arena action game that draws some inspiration from hockey, if hockey were played on an obstacle course with spaceships. It's a multiplayer-focused game, and I'm hoping that it catches on. It can be hard for these sorts of games to pick up communities. Right now, the developers are holding a tournament that kicks off on March 28th. The grand prize is $1,000. Go Go Electric Samurai is available for Mac, Windows, and Linux. Last week, Kona came to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Mac, Windows, and Linux. We sorta overlooked it since we were, and continue to be, busy with PAX East coverage. A shame because it's one of the most interesting survival adventures to be released in some time. Kona has a pretty fascinating premise. Set in northern Canada in the year 1970, you play as Detective Carl Faubert, who has been called upon to investigate some mysterious vandalism. As you may guess, things start going wrong in a hurry. Your investigation escalates into something much bigger than mere vandalism. The game's story is one that draws upon Canadian folklore, and from what I've been hearing, it's pretty surreal. Interestingly, the game has a narrator telling the story as you struggle to survive and investigate. It's not the first game to do this, but it is a rather uncommon thing for a game in this style to have a disembodied third-person narrator. Thus far, Kona has received positive critical and player reception. Much praise has been heaped upon the game's story and setting. Now, people really love the narrator, who contributes to the atmosphere and tone of the game. It should be noted that while the game has some survival elements, you have to keep yourself warm and healthy and fight off wolves, it's not too mechanically complex. Kona is an adventure game first, and a survival game second. That said, I have been hearing that the AI for the wolves and other undisclosed enemies, spoilers I suppose, is pretty weak, and that the game has some atrocious load times. Beyond this, however, Kona has been quite well received, and is worth looking into if you're looking for a cold, intense adventure. Nintendo's ongoing foray into mobile gaming continued this week as Super Mario Run was released on Android. In case you've not heard of it, Super Mario Run is an endless runner in which you play as Mario. Duh. The game's reception from players and critics has been mostly positive, but a lot of people hate that the game requires an internet connection in order to play, in spite of the fact that it's a single-player game and it costs you money. Personally, this has turned me off from buying the game. While my phone is connected to the internet most of the time, those times when I'll want to play a game tend to be when I'm out and about, when a connection to the internet isn't guaranteed. Then too, what happens when Super Mario Run stops making Nintendo money? What happens when they decide to shut down the servers for good? This game that I paid for won't be in my library anymore. Dumb move, Nintendo. While we're talking mobile game releases, Sunless Sea came to iOS this week. Already out on Steam, this incredibly wordy roguelite is set in the Fallen London universe. It has some Lovecraftian leanings. The game's premise is that you're exploring an underground ocean, where you and your crew will face a ton of threats. It's like FTL if it were crossed with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, with nearly 150,000 more words than Moby Dick. If you want a roguish game with a lot of lore, check out Sunless Sea. It's garnered a fantastic critical response, and the players really seem to love it as well. A crowdfunding project that caught our eye this week is for the upcoming game Pine. Currently live on Kickstarter, Pine is a fantasy game in which humans are not on the top of the food chain. there are other intelligent species running around. You can fight them, or you can choose to befriend them. The game's set to be released in 2018 on PC, and on consoles at some later date. I'll let the developers explain things from here.
A diverse cast of species helps or hinders you in getting to this goal. You, in turn, have the ability to help or hinder them as well, by gathering or stealing their food, enlarging or damaging their territory, or even joining their conflicts, by which you can shape your own story of allies and enemies. Each organism is different. We use genetic algorithms to make the species evolve as a whole, while keeping individual personalities and visual traits among them.
There's this world that's constantly alive, and we want to give the player the sense that they're just one species on this island.
The design of the species really comes from this alternate evolution. What if an elephant would have to be fast like a horse, or a moose would have to overcome their enemies by building tools? And that's really what happens in our game. It's this alternate universe that's still grounded in reality. Pine's visual style is inspired by other games like Legend of Zelda or Fable. It has this handcrafted, warm, colorful feeling that really seems to appeal to a lot of people.
We want to bring Pine to Kickstarter to involve the players even more. We are a small team, and getting direct input from the players means a lot to us. Pine is currently in pre-alpha. We've engaged with thousands of testers for our early demos, and the concept turned out to work really well. After winning a Unity Award and getting quite a bit of recognition in other places, we think Pine and Twirlbound are ready for the Kickstarter audience.
So, this is where you come in. We've been extremely passionate about Pine for the past year, and we're really excited to make this. It's fantastic to work on, but we just need a little bit of support to finish it. We also think it can really benefit from your input. We really think this will make it a better product in the end, so thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
A game announcement really caught my attention this week. White Paper Games, the developer of adventure game Epher1, unveiled their next game, The Occupation. There's no word yet on which platforms it's going to be released on, though it seems safe to assume that it's coming to PC. The game's premise is that you play as a journalist turned whistleblower in 1980s England. In the wake of a terrorist attack, a new act has been drafted that will curtail the rights of ordinary citizens. As a journalist, it's up to you to decide on how to report about this act. Your reporting could make or break the law. What's interesting about this game is that it's a political thriller set in real time. In comparison, most adventure games don't behave that way. Instead, after you've solved puzzles or interacted with things, the games advance. In this game, over the course of 4 hours, the world of the game will continue moving along with or without your input. That said, you can have quite the influence on things that are going along. Personally, I'm excited for the game, not just for its interesting take on adventure game mechanics, but because I'm a huge fan of White Paper Games' last release, Epher1. Now, in case you've not heard of that game, what you should know is that it's an adventure in which you play as a sort of therapist, one who can enter the memories of a dementia patient Inception style in order to repair broken memories. It's a fantastic game, and it's available on the PlayStation 4 as well as on Windows. This week I had the opportunity to interview Pete Bottomley, lead developer on The Occupation. He says that while he's aiming for an October release for the game, I shouldn't quote him on that, as things may change. If you happen to be in England, you can check out the game at EGX Res. If you do drop by, be sure to say hello from One Rule Be Cool. A new trailer has been released for the upcoming Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 remix. An absurd name for a relatively reasonable collection of games, it's set to be released on the PlayStation 4 on March 28th, and it includes Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Birth by Sleep, Final Mix, Chain of Memories, 358/2 Days, and the original Kingdom Hearts. remastered for PS4, all on one convenient disc. Speaking as somebody who has been meaning to but hasn't yet played the Kingdom Hearts games, this is a pretty tempting deal. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with Kingdom Hearts, what you should know is that this series of critically acclaimed and confusingly named ARPGs mashes up Final Fantasy and Disney worlds and characters. The third game, while hotly anticipated, has been delayed from here to eternity, but it is still in development.
Know this. The heart that is strong and true shall win the Keyblade.
Riku!
Kingdom Hearts, fill me with the power of darkness.
Those creatures that attacked you are after the Keyblade. But it's your heart they really want.
You think you can defeat me, the true darkness?
I know now. Without a doubt, Kingdom Hearts is light.
Crush those atoms! Look out! They'll pay for this.
How will you fight without a weapon?
My friends are my power, and I'm theirs.
Embrace the darkness. Produce for your master the Keyblade.
Finally, Persia has been announced for Civilization VI. We have the trailer right here for your viewing pleasure.
And in his lifetime, it grew to be the greatest empire the world had ever known, leaving his successors a stable dynasty of many ancient kingdoms. Persia's unique ability is Satrape-Ha. Persia gets a free trade route when political philosophy is unlocked, and bonuses to internal trade routes. Their unique unit is the Immortal. This swordsman replacement has a ranged attack, but a strong combat defense as well. Persia also has the Pa'iri Da'iza as a unique improvement. These tile improvements provide culture, gold, and appeal, with bonuses for adjacent districts and city centers. Over time, they'll provide more yields as you advance through the tech and civics trees. Cyrus's special ability is called Fall of Babylon. After declaring a surprise war, all Persian units get bonus movement. Cyrus also takes less of a diplomatic penalty for declaring surprise wars. While Persia can be very successful with sneak attacks, this is a civ that can grow strong over time through combinations of wonders and the Pa'iri Da'iza. You can play Persia to build up to an inexorable cultural victory, or grow rich to fund the victory of your choice. Will future generations call you the King of Kings?
That's it for this week's episode of OneRBC Gaming Weekly. For all the greatest game news and editorials, be sure to follow at OneRuleBeCool on Twitter and Instagram. Follow me at Jordan_Cameron for my own views.